Hello friends, Matt here again. Another weekend top 70 albums of the year video. This is going to be 1973. We're still in the early 70s in 1973. But by the end of the year, we're also kind of transitioning into the mid 70s. Not that it's that much of a transitional year though, because it's still firmly a classic rock, a prog, a hard rock year, you know, much like 72 and 71 were, you know. Not hitting the singer-songwriters that much this year, but everything else I've been showing you in the last few videos, I'm going to continue with. So, without further ado, let's start. My favorite album from 1971 is Dark Side of the Moon. This is the old copy from the Shine On box set. It's really hard to pick another album over this, despite how overplayed it is then, now, 20, 30 years ago, you know. It's not the album's fault. It's overplayed. It's a classic. It's a classic prog album. Hell, it's a classic psychedelic album. It is the height of what Pink Floyd could do in terms of being able to, you know, reach their artistic goals and transfix an audience, a record-buying audience and an audience in concert, because this, I don't know when Dark Side of the Moon left the top 100 or 200 Billboard LP charts in America, because it was still on in the 1980s. Well over 10 years after this album was released, it was still on the Billboard charts. So it's hard to pick an album over this. This is certainly the best rock album of the year. My favorite R&B soul album is Stevie Wonder's Inner Visions. This is also 73. This is a perfect album. This is like Dark Side of the Moon, but it's for R&B and soul. I love everything on this record. I would not change a thing. Again, for Stevie, it achieves a perfection that, you know, Marvin did on Let's Get It On that year, and also What's Going On in 71. If you've never heard it, Inner Visions. Couldn't find my Mold Fidelity disc to show you, so I had to print this out from Discogs today, but that's okay. It was worth it to show you one of the greatest albums I've ever heard. Stevie Wonder, Inner Visions. All right. My third favorite album of 1973 is Bob Marley and the Wailers, Catch a Fire. Now, this was the LP cover that I had growing up, but this is the original LP cover. I never had a vinyl copy of this. This is the 2-disc set. This is an awesome record. You know, Bob and the Wailers, you know, Peter Tosh and Bunny Livingston have moved to Island Records, working with Chris, and 2 albums this year, and they're both classics. I'm going to have Burnin' later on. But Catch a Fire is a very important album, just like for reggae, just like, The Harder They Come was the previous year, the soundtrack. So, there you go. 2, 3, yeah. 4, Steely Dan, Count Down to Ecstasy. I do prefer this album to the first one. I love Can't Buy a Thrill, but this one has My Old School, which is my favorite Steely Dan song. All my Steely Dan are on the, the Citizen Dan CD box, which does not reproduce the album covers. So when I show you a Steely Dan album so far on these year videos, I'm just xeroxing them off from Discogs. But Countdown to Ecstasy, it's a classic. It's a 5-star record. I mean, everything is great on here. I need to do a Steely Dan show, don't I? Bodhisattva's wonderful. Razor Boy, Boston Rag, Your Gold Teeth. That's a classic side 1. Showbiz Kids, used to play that on the radio. My Old School, I told you about that. And then Pearl the Quarter and King of the World. Every Steely Dan album in the 70s is something of a classic, and this is just one of many. So, don't know what my favorite one is, but I do prefer this one to the debut. All right. 5, Band on the Run, Paul McCartney and Wings. It's really just Paul, Linda, and and Denny Lane, though. This is the old Steve Hoffman gold disc, cut for cut. This is my favorite Paul McCartney album. Ram comes real close, but, you know, growing up, it was Band on the Run. I mean, every kid who thought he had enough Beatles albums and wanted to start getting into Paul McCartney albums, this was usually the first album that he bought. Wings' Greatest Hits was pretty popular later on in the 70s too, but I don't remember now what the first Wings album I ever heard was. It may have been Wings' Greatest Hits, but this could be one of the first, or maybe even the first Wings album I ever owned on vinyl. All right, Band on the Run, as good as... We're going to hear from all four ex-Beatles this year, 1973, because they all put out great work. So, but this is the best, in my opinion, Band on the Run. Okay, number 6 is the Allman Brothers. Brothers and Sisters, one of my favorite albums of the year. I cannot believe that I left out Eat a Peach last week in my 1972 video. Folks, that would be in my top 10 as well. It's every bit the album that this is. This is a very commercial album, though. They played this to death on the radio then and all through the 80s and probably now, as far as I know. I don't listen to the radio stations anymore. But, you know, this has got Melissa and Ramblin' Man, you know, I mean, Southbound. This had the radio hits more. Well, so Eat a Peach did too, to an extent. But this was the most popular, I think, album that the Allman Brothers ever made in terms of sales, unless Fillmore East has outsold it. I don't know, but it's a complete classic, definitely in my top 10, and I should have had Eat a Peach on in my top 10 in my 72 video. Okay, 10, 9, 8, 7 is Led Zeppelin, Houses of the Holy. Couldn't find my Zeppelin CDs today. You know, this album, if you had this album growing up, it had the white band saying Houses of the Holy on it. My CD does too. But another one I had to print out of Discogs. So this was my ex-wife's favorite Led Zeppelin record. She played it all the time. I know every single note. Well, I knew every note on this album before I even met her. But so this will always have a special place in my heart because I've heard it possibly more than any other Led Zeppelin LP. Houses of the Holy. Number 8 is the awesome, the mammoth Quadrophenia. This is the old Mo Fidelity double disc CDs. It, of course, was a double album. This is the last truly classic album of this magnitude that The Who did. I mean, I enjoy my numbers after this. I'm going to put their 1974 odds and ends record, odds and sods, on my 74 video. But this is epic. This is a lot of people's favorite Who album. But Who fans, you know, we all like different. Mine was Who's Next, and I know people who really love Sell Out and Tommy and Live at Leeds and this. I mean, it's difficult to pick a favorite Who album, but this is awesome. And the movie from '79 is great and gives you a great understanding of this LP, but it couldn't be any better, really. 9 is Selling England by the Pound, Genesis. This is my favorite Genesis record. This is the surround sound mix, the DVD or SACD? DVD, I think. It is the peak of what I think they could attain with Peter Gabriel. I know other people go for Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. That's a great album too. That's a classic too. But I think this is my fave. I keep showing you these Genesis discs on these videos and saying that it was better than the previous one. I think this is better than Foxtrot. I think that every album is better than the previous one ends here though. Because though I've just told you, I like the Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, and it'll be in my 74 show. This is my favorite one. I don't think they ever made a better album than this. All right? It's as perfect as they could achieve. Okay, number 10. Matt, you're ranking this too high. Am I, though? Aladdin Sane. Yeah, it's just another Ziggy album. And not quite as good as Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. But notice how I phrase that. Not quite as good, because damn, it's almost as good. This is another hard-rockin', you know, with Mick Ronson, David Bowie record, when he was a rocker. And I, you know, from Watch That Man to, well, Lady Grinning Soul's on a rocker, but it's a great song. The only thing on here which might not be quite up to par would be their version of Let's Spend the Night Together. But, you know, David was always kind of in awe of Mick. And all right. I mean, this same year he did the whole Pinups album, which I enjoy, but not enough to put on this video. But this is a classic. It's another classic Bowie album. Okay, that's my top 10. We're gonna do 11 through 20. Now I've got the Bowie up. Okay, 11 through 20. As I explained in these end of the year videos or whatever, top 70 videos, my 11 through 20 are albums that are also classics to my ears, narrowly missing the top 10. And on another given day, these would be in my top 10. All right, let's get it on. Marvin Gaye, his Sex album. You know, when I was talking about Tim Buckley's Greetings from LA in my 1972 video and in my Tim Buckley video, I said he was making a Marvin Gaye album. Well, he did that Marvin Gaye album before Marvin Gaye, because this is the Sex album. And it's the best. This is like the kind of music that Prince would make in the 80s. But this is a classic. It's sexy soul, sultry R&B, and in its own way, it's as good as what's going on. It's just not like a topical album of, kind of political songs. But, the sexuality was a big part of Marvin Gaye's music too. And this is back when he was still making masterpieces. That's number 11. Number 12 is Raw Power, the third Stooges album here. It's called Iggy and the Stooges. This is the double disc set. I just saw this, and I didn't show this in my Stooges video because I didn't own it. So I thought I would show you. This is the Heavy Liquid box set of a bunch of recordings, some of them pretty poorly recorded, live stuff too, and some studio stuff leading up to the recordings of Raw Power. But Raw Power is another masterpiece. It's another pre-punk classic. It's got metallic overtones. If you know the Stooges, you know this album. Okay, that was 12. 13. Probably, my third favorite King Crimson album. Lark's Tongues and Aspic. It's a masterpiece, though. That's another classic. You can hear this album in surround, the Stephen Wilson version. I think he just did an Atmos mix of this, too. This is just a CD. This is his new band. He had Jamie Moyer on percussion here, who only played, I think, on this one album. He's got Bruford. He's got John Wetton. It was just a great band who would he would keep losing members, though, with each album. Stardust and Bible Black doesn't have the full lineup of this, and then Red doesn't, I think, have the same lineup as Stardust. But this is a masterpiece, folks. If you can, it's not easy listening for those who are not into prog. But then again, King Crimson never is easy listening. They're going to challenge you. But I love it. Okay. It was 11, 12, 13, 14. Goodbye, Yellow Brick Road. This is most people's favorite Elton John album. Well, it was when I was growing up. It's a double album. This is the surround sound DVD. Last time I played this surround sound disc was, I don't know, a year or so ago. And I even liked the filler. Growing up, we all have especially on double albums, songs we considered filler, and I did too. But some of the songs I thought were filler sounded good. Like I've seen that movie too, Sweet Painted Lady, Ballad of Danny Bailey. Those are all in a row. They're not bad at all. No, this is his masterpiece. At the very least, it's as good as anything that he ever did. Now, I've had an Elton John album, every year since 1970. So this is the fourth year in a row. But this is my favorite one. This is my favorite one of all time, folks. All right. 5. This is Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. It's, what are we? 15? I can't remember now where we're at. It's another classic Sabbath album. All 6 of the first Sabbath LPs are metal classics. I know I keep using that word classic. But I went through a phase once where this was one of my favorite ones. It's little splashes of progressive rock in here. Rick Wakeman plays on a track or two. He was recording Tales from Topographic Oceans. That's not a bad Yes album, but it wasn't quite good enough to make my cut for this video. But so he'd come into the studio, you know, next door where Sabbath were recording and help him out with this. This is a great album. Folks, it is a great album. Sabbath, bloody Sabbath. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, this should be, folks, what are we on? This is 15? 16, 17. No, 16. Here's Burnin', finally. Burnin' almost as good as Catch a Fire. All right, this is the double disc set. These are well-recorded albums. Bob Marley on Island, that's where you want him to be. This is still the same, you know, classic Wailers. And cut for cut, it's virtually as good as any other Wailers album, I think. All right. New York Dolls. Did my New York Dolls show. Not many of you watched it. This is the one album of the two that they made that if you're going to only have one, make it this one. Another classic proto-punk glam record. Gotta be glam, right? Because look how they're dressed. But very influential to the New York punk establishment. And there's a lot of R&B to their sound, though. So they don't sound like a punk band as much as probably the Stooges. But the Stooges had guitar solos. Well, I guess so did Johnny. Well, did Johnny Thunders have guitar solos on this album? I don't remember now. But anyway, I love it. Can't do without it. That's 20, 19. This is 18. Caravan, for girls who grow plump in the night. This is their last really great album. Although the next two are also pretty good. But this is probably better than Waterloo Lily. In fact, I'm going to say it is. And it's still classic prog. You know, you never heard this stuff on U.S. radio. I don't think you even heard it too much on UK radio. But if you like progressive rock, you need to check out early Caravan. All right. 19. Pronounced Leonard Skinnard. I mean, cut for cut, this is as solid as virtually any other Leonard Skinnard album. I Ain't the One, Tuesday's Gone, Give Me 3 Steps, Simple Man, Freebird. Those are classic Leonard Skinnard songs. There's only 8 cuts on the whole album. This is the old gold disc. And number 20, almost as good, is Tres Hombres, ZZ Top. All right, a little Texas rock, Southern rock for Leonard Skinnard. Very bluesy. Cut for cut, this is as good as any as any ZZ Top album. Can I read that? Sure. Waiting for the Bus, Jesus Just Left Chicago, Beer Drinkers and Hellraisers, Master of Sparks. I like all these songs. Move Me On Down the Line, LaGrange, Chic. I mean, damn. This might be better than that Leonard Skinnard album, but they're just as good, really. All right, that's my 11 through 20. Here's 21 through 30. Ta-da! Brain Salad Surgery. Emerson, Lake and Palmer. This is my DVD. I'm not going to part with this one because it sounds good. This growing up was my favorite ELP album. I don't know if it still is, but just for argument's sake, I'll say it's their peak. I'll say they never made a better album than this. They may have made some albums as good, but they were really firing on all cylinders here. A lot of this was played on the radio. Carnival Number 9 had different excerpts that you heard on the radio. And I loved the tour after this, because I even liked the Welcome Back My Friends live album that came out the year after this. And then they took a few years off, and they shouldn't have done that, because when they came back, they just weren't as good. But they weren't getting along, folks. They just, they all had big egos, and that's what happens in bands when, you don't make the effort to, stick together for the benefit of the unity of the band. But this is a great record. All right, that's 21. 22. $1 billion babies. Alice Cooper Group. I keep saying this is as good an album as the band ever made. This is probably, with Alice, he had so many early classics. This is as good, really, though, as Live It Up and Killer. It's, I'm going to say, better than School's Out. I like Muscle of Love this year. No one likes that album. I think that's it didn't make my cut for this video, but that's a strong album. But this is a great album. All right. This is probably, well, no, because I really like Welcome to My Nightmare too. But in some ways, this could be the last classic Alice Cooper album. All right. 23, Bruce Springsteen, The Wild, The Innocent, and the E Street Shuffle. A lot of my British friends will contend that this is his best album. It's not, but it's interesting that they picked that kind of, it's a very theatrical record, you know, where he's got names like Spanish Johnny, you know, and Puerto Rican Jane for his characters. He wrote like that at the time. He wrote like that on his first album, which will also be in the show. He was still writing like that in Born to Run, but when he started to minimalize his essence around darkness, I think he kind of stopped writing like that. But anyways, this is a great record. He doesn't have the E Street Band really down pat yet, but you know, he's got Clarence there, David Sanchez. He's got Danny Federici, Gary Towne. I mean, you got to have this album if you're at all into Bruce, or if you want classic singer-songwriter albums of the 70s. All right, 2023, 24. Hawkwind, again, as good as any album that they ever made. This is Space Alive, Space Ritual, I'm sorry, Space Ritual, but it's Alive, and it's a double album. It's a long double album too. I got this album in surround, and it just blows the freaking speakers off your system. It's probably my favorite Hawkwind album. I'll always tell you when I think a band reached their peak, or at least my favorite album of the year, and this is probably, I think, my favorite Hawkwind album. All right. 25 is Roxy Music Stranded. This is the one without Eno. We're going to have For Your Pleasure later on in this show, but I like this one a little bit better. Stranded. It rocks. I mean, Street Life, Just Like You, Amazona's great, Psalm, Serenade, Song for Europe, Mother of Pearl is one of my favorite songs of theirs. All right. I mean, even Brian Eno loved this album, and he wasn't a part of it. Stranded. 30, 29, 26 is Al Green's Call Me. You guessed it. As good an album as he ever made. This is my favorite Al Green album. Now, what did I say we're on? 25 or something like that? And we're still, you know, having artists at their peak. Now, I like virtually every Al Green album from the 70s, but this one is my favorite one. All right? Not as good as Let's Get It On or Intervisions, but damn good. Damn good. 27, Headhunters, Herbie Hancock. He was a great jazz pianist. You know, played with Miles Davis, started to make his own albums in the 60s. And by this time, he had moved to fusion, and Headhunters is a monster. You know, he redid his own song, Watermelon Man, and had a hit with it. Well, it was a hit initially too, but I mean, that's great. But it's all, I mean, the whole thing is good. I try to promote fusion on this show because it's you know, it's a fusion of jazz and rock, and it's very similar to a prog. Some of it is anyway, and this is a milestone in the genre. All right. 28 is A Wizard of True Star, Todd Rundgren. This is many people's favorite Todd Rundgren album. Mine is still Something Anything, but this album is dying for a surround sound mix. God, any Todd Rundgren album from the 70s is dying for a surround sound mix. Almost as good as Something Anything, but he's starting to get weird here, you know, which a lot of people like. You know, his Todd inclinations are creeping in more, whereas Something Anything was more designed to be a perfect double LP. But there's songs of perfection on here too. A Wizard of True Star. All right, 29. Can, Future Days. It's kind of like an ambient record, but I mean, not ambient the way that Eno would make an ambient record. This actually flows and ebbs and swirls and has got it's got rhythms in it. It's Can. It's still classic Can. Can. We're going from strength to strength at this time. And in some ways, this is the last album of this quality that they would ever do, but I pretty much like all their 70s work. All right? And number 30, I love this. Six Wives of Henry VIII, Rick Wakeman. I like this better than the Yes album that year of, Tales from Topographic Oceans. You know what else is great, though, is the live Yes album of this year. But I'm trying to promote a lot of different things on these shows. So rather than just show you that, I'd rather show you this. Rick Wakeman. And I've got a handful of Rick Wakeman solo albums. He's made tons. He's made like 90. Of the ones I've heard, this is my favorite one. Okay, that was my top 30. 31 through 40. There goes Ryman Simon. I'm almost getting tired of saying it. I don't know if he ever made a better album than this. This could be my favorite Paul Simon album. This is from the box set, where they're all remastered. I'm not going over songs because it just takes too long for these videos. But as great as his first album is, I like this one better. There goes Ryman Simon is my number 31. 32. Shotgun Willie sits at home in his underwear. I'm a big Willie Nelson guy, and I haven't shown you guys any of his albums on these shows, although I could have, but I can't ignore Shotgun Willie. I don't know how much you guys are really into country music anyway, but this is a great album, this is the Mofield twofer with Phases and Stages, which I'm going to show you in my 1974 video because that's another great country album. But Shotgun Willie. He was briefly on the Atlantic label, and both these albums are classics, and then he left Atlantic. Shotgun Willie. That's 32. 33. It's Piano Man, Billy Joel. This is a surround sound disc. I am not such a prude that I'm going to overlook crowd-pleasing artists like Billy Joel. Billy Joel had a great run from 73 to 83. A lot of popular albums, and they were good. He does not get the due, I think, that he probably should have from the rock community. And before you say, but he's not rock. Okay, I mean, is Joni Mitchell rock? Anyways, this is a solid album. It's got Piano Man. It's got Captain Jack. Again, I'm not going to go over songs, but it's better than his first album. All right. 33. 34 is Aerosmith. Yeah, I'm an Aerosmith guy. I grew up in the 70s loving me some hard rock, loving me some American hard rock, loving me some British hard rock, probably more than the American hard rock. But Aerosmith were one of the few American bands that I thought we could put up there alongside the English bands. They still weren't as good. I mean, Aerosmith were never going to be as good as Led Zeppelin or Black Sabbath or Deep Purple. But in terms of American hard rock bands, they were at the top. I don't think any hard rock band to come from this side of the pond was as good as Aerosmith. And this is a strong debut, but they would get even better. The albums would get even better. It's got Dream On, though. All right? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I guess this is 34. I don't know. Roxy Music, For Your Pleasure. This is the second one with Eno. It's got to Do the Strand. I hope it does. Yes. I'm thinking that's not on the first album, is it? No, that's Virginia Plain. It's great. It's got an avant-garde kind of side 2, the way that the debut album did. Pulling on all those little bag of tricks. But it was here and always will be Brian Ferry's band. All right? So I think the first Brian Ferry album came out in 73, didn't it? The one with the Dylan cover? Anyways, check out my Roxy Music video for further elucidation. All right. 30, 29, 28, 27, 26. Oh, no, it's not. 36. 36. Mind Games, John Lennon. This is the Blu-ray, you know, from the big surround sound box set. This is a good record. I don't know. It's not as good as A Band of the Run, but it's better than Red Rose Speedway. I think I like it more than Living in the Material World. I rated it higher. You know, it's not a classic album the way that, you know, Plastic Ono Band and Imagine were, but it's better than Sometime in New York City. All right? So there you are, Mind Games, John Lennon. Okay. All right, we're going up to 40 now. So 40, 39, 38, 37. In a Glass House, Gentle Giant. When I initially familiarized myself with the entire Gentle Giant catalog, this was my favorite one. I don't know why I chose it. I just glommed onto it. I don't know if it's my favorite Gentle Giant album anymore. I don't know if I have one, you know, but it's another, I mean, all of their albums were strong from 70 through 77. The live album, the missing piece in 77 is okay. It's pretty good. It's okay. They wouldn't really hit their nadir until the next year with Giant for a Day, but everything studio-wise before 77 is great, and this is no exception. In a Glass House. Okay. 38. Mott. I showed you guys All the Young Dudes last week. I'm showing you Mott this week on 73, and I'll show you the Hoopa. That's a good album too. I should have shown you Brain Capers. Their first album was good too. I had this album growing up. It was always been my favorite Mott album. I had this one in Mott Hoopla's Greatest Hits. But cut for cut, again, this is as good as any album that Mott Hoople ever made. All right? Okay, 39 is Genesis Live. Never can tell what my favorite Genesis live album is. It could be this one, it could be Seconds Out. Seconds Out has more of a flow and feels like a concert. This is classic Peter Gabriel. This is from the live surround sound box set, so it's augmented with extra tracks, which you can read right there. So this is an even better listen than just the normal single LP is. All right. Okay, and for 40, Jackson Browne, For Every Man. Not quite as good as the Jackson Browne album from 72. Not as good as Late for the Sky. This album kind of falls through the cracks, but it's got his version of Take It Easy. It's got Redneck Friend, you know, which I used to hear on the radio. I think he's singing about Greg Oliver. I don't know. It's another strong Jackson Browne album. Okay, that's 40, right? All right, let me make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, that's 40. Okay, I'm going to do 41 through 50 now. Lou Reed's Berlin. It's like a concept album of this couple in Berlin in Germany where they are in love, then they're not, they're separated, they get divorced or whatever. They come take the kids away because she's not a fit mother. You actually hear crying kids in the background. It's a despairing album, but it's one of Lou Reed's masterpieces. I mean, again, if you can get into this, man, you can get into the essence of who he was as a songwriter. This is one of his strongest efforts. Bob Ezrin, who did Alice Cooper, produced this. So that's my number 41. Number 42, Dixie Chicken. I found my Low Fidelity Little Feat albums. This was my favorite growing up. Might still be. Hard to say. This, Sailing Shoes, Feast Don't Fail Me Now. This is probably my favorite one. So just think about how many artists I've shown you or bands in this video where I think this is my favorite album of theirs. The whole decade of the 70s was like that. All right. This is 41, 42, 43. Bruce Springsteen, Greetings from Asbury Park. This is where he still had a case of Dylanitis, where he is writing like Bob Dylan with long songs with just lots of lyrics. And this is from the remastered box set of the CDs. I like the album. It's very good. I like Wild the Innocent better. That's why I rated it higher. This has got Blinded by the Light, or his version of Blinded by the Light. For You, which I think, was it Greg Kihn did that? Anyways, Spirit in the Night, which I used to hear that one on the radio. It's a good album. 44, Doobie Brothers, Captain and Me. I have this album several times. This is my favorite Doobie Brothers album. Again, how many times am I going to say this is the best album I think that they ever made, or an artist? This is the quad mix. I do like the Tom Johnston era of the 70s the best, more than the Michael McDonald era. So my favorite Doobie Brothers album. I have this is the quad mix, but I have a DVD of a 5.1 mix. I think this might sound better though. Okay. 45, I guess. Montrose. Boy, if you grew up in the 70s and you liked hard rock, you had this album. Their second album was pretty good too, but this is like a masterpiece, really. This is Sammy Hagar, Ronnie Montrose. Since I'm never going to do a Montrose show, I might as well. Rock the Nation, Bad Motor Scooter, Space Station 5, Rock Candy. Those are classic hard rock songs. 1973. Used to play this all the time on the radio. Now they kind of sort of do, but it's kind of lost some points probably over the years. All right, moving on down to 50. This is 46, Sly and the Family Stone, Fresh. This is their last great album. I'm a big champion of San Francisco bands, Bay Area bands, but by this point in getting into the mid 70s, they're starting, the great albums from the Bay Area are starting to die off. These artists were very much of their time. Sly was very erratic with the drugs and not showing up for their concerts. This is the last time he really got it together for a great album. And it is Fresh. It is. All right. 47. GP, Graham Parsons. Our boy Graham. Everyone likes this album, right? He's off on his own. He's not in the Burrito Brothers anymore. He's long gone from the Byrds. He's writing songs. He's covering a lot of material, more so on the 74 album, Grievous Angel. But this is you want this. If you're at all interested in Graham Parsons or country rock, pick this up. All right. Okay, 48. Ooh La La. The Faces. Another Rod Stewart album. Right? This is their last record. I think it's one of their best. It's better than that year's Smiler that Rod did. Ooh La La. Strong Stones influenced or Stones sounding music. All right, 49 is the Eagles' Desperado. The first album's okay. The 3 hits are the best songs on there, and then they do a good version of a Gene Clark number. But Desperado, the whole thing is good. This is a solid album. It didn't sell like the first one did because it didn't have all those hits. The song Desperado, which we now know as a classic Eagles song, is on here, but they didn't play that a lot on the radio then. Although once the Greatest Hits album came out in 76, that became a radio staple. Linda Ronstadt did a good version of Desperado. But this is kind of like a concept album, about whatever, musicians as outlaws. It's kind of cheesy, but the music's good, folks. Eagles, Desperado. And number 50, Tyranny and Mutation. Love those early BOC black and white albums. The covers are black and white. This is riff heaven, folks. Side 1 is virtual perfection. Whether you fall on the side of these guys are metal or whether you fall on the side they're just merely hard rock, I don't care. It's a great album. Another day, I'd say this is a better album than Aerosmith. Just today, I didn't rank it as high. All right? All right, that's my top 50. 51 through 60. 51 through 60. All right, I'm going to say 51 is Neil Young, Time Fades Away. This is a live album. It doesn't have the fans that Harvest does, or even that On the Beach does the next year. But it's still a really good record. It's a live album of all new material, and they're virtually all good songs, folks. Neil is not crazy about this album because he was not in probably the best of mental health at the time, but Neil Young fans love it. That's my 51. 52 is Queen, which they call Queen 1 on here. This is the surround sound mix, but you know, it's a very strong album. All the Queen albums in the 70s are very strong, you know, but this is great. It's great to hear in surround. I hope there's more Queen in surround. Keep Yourself Alive, I think, was the only song that they played on the radio from this album. But there's, you know, 17s of Rise. Great. There's lots of, the whole thing is great. Okay, that's 52. 53 is Ringo. Yep, I'm placing this above George Harrison's Living in the Material World. This is the best album Ringo Starr ever made, but I shouldn't make that comment because I have not heard every single album that Ringo ever made. It's his best 70s album, though, and I think that's all you need is the 70s records. All right. Ringo is chock full of hits. The deep cuts are great. And he was having hits at that time. 54. Waylon Jennings, Honky Tonk Heroes. This is, you know, where he does the songs of, what was it, Billy Joe Shaver? I don't even remember now. Don't want to get that wrong. Oh, well, I'm fairly sure I'm right, so I'm not going to correct myself. And then there's like one Waylon Jennings songs at the end. But this is a, in that sense, it's not really like a concept album, but it's, the songs are unified because he's showcasing another songwriter. That's him, Billy Joe, and that's Waylon. If you're interested in country music or outlaw country music, well, if you are, you already own this, right? Okay. 55. Overnight Sensation. The new Mothers of Invention, Frank Zappa. Here's the surround sound disc, but this is a very commercial sounding, very much Zappa in the 70s kind of record, which he'd follow up with similar albums like Apostrophe and One Size Fits All the next 2 years. I love it. But then again, you know, I love Zappa, so. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so this would be 55? 55, I think. Here we go. George Harrison's Living in a Material World. This is the Blu-ray surround sound disc. What is my second favorite George Harrison album after All Things Must Pass? Could be this. Could be 33 1/3. Could be Cloud 9, you know. This is good, though. All right. 56. This is Faust 4. The first Faust album most people ever buy. It's the most commercial one because it's got that skinhead song. You got a sad skinhead. But otherwise, it's pretty hardcore, avant-garde, you know, krautrock. So I enjoy all the Faust albums of the 70s. I have them all in like a little box set. But this is probably my favorite just because it's maybe the easiest on the ears. All right. Okay, this one is a band, okay, I've been avoiding showing you guys Italian prog just because I think I show you enough prog albums, and if you're not into prog, you're going to think I'm already showing you too much. But Italian prog is also great. I've been skipping, you know, well, everything up till now, you know, PFM and Banco, but I'm going to show you this. This is Filona e Sorona, and the band's called Le Orme. This is a masterpiece of Italian prog. If you're into prog, you already know this. I'm recommending this. All right. That's my, what, 58? 59. More fusion, Birds of Fire, Mahavishnu Orchestra, John McLaughlin. Some say better than their first album. I don't think so, but it's still a classic. This is still a classic fusion album. You could even call it prog. All right. And my number 60 is Tom Waits. Closing Time, his first album. His first album. He hadn't even established himself yet. But it's albums like this which would establish him. You know? Check out my Tom Waits video. I talk all about him. Okay, that's my top 60. I've only got 10 more. Okay. 61 61 is Grateful Dead, Wake of the Flood. It's a solid Dead album. Maybe not as classic as Europe 72, but a whole batch of new songs with a new sound. It doesn't sound anything like any Dead album that had come before this. I love it. Wake of the Flood is my 61 choice. 62 is Poco, Crazy Eyes. This is one of those Poco twofers I already showed you guys delivering in an earlier year. Crazy Eyes is the last really solid album I think that Poco made, but I have not heard every Poco album, so I don't know. But my interest in the band kind of begins to wane after this. But Crazy Eyes is solid, and he's singing about, Richie's singing about Graham Parsons, I think. Okay, so that's 61, 62, 63. John Cale, Paris 1919. People think I should probably rank this really higher than 63. I like the album, but I've never loved it. It is the John Cale album, though, that I'm the most familiar with. That one he made in 81, too, but I can't remember the name of it. But Paris 1919 is a solid record. I do like Berlin better this year, but there are people who like John Cale more than Lou Reed. So if you're a Velvets fan, you know which side of the divide that you're on. All right, so that's 63. 64 is Traffic, Low Spark of High-Heeled Boys. This is another kind of jamming album. It's another jamming album like Low Spark. This is called Shoot Out the Fantasy Factory. Boy, I'm looking right at the cover here, and I can't even get it right. It's not as good as Low Spark, but it's in many ways the last album, I think, that's fairly solid that Traffic would make. The one from 74 is okay, When the Eagle Flies. I like this one better, but I like Low Spark more than this. So 73 is Shoot Out the Fantasy Factory. This is the Mo Fidelity version. All right. 65 is Camel. Camel. This is their first album. It's real good. It's real solid, but they would make better ones after this. All right. But it's still good enough to make my list. Camel. How about 65? Yeah. 66. It's Waylon Jennings' second album of the year. Lonesome, Ornery, and Mean. He had a whole slew of good albums in the 70s, and this is just one of them. Lonesome, Ornery, and Mean. All right. 3, 4. Okay, that's 65. 66 is Holland. Beach Boys, Holland. This is a twofer along with the still pretty good Carl and the Passions, So Tough, but Holland's a better album. This is the last really solid album that they'd make for a long time, folks, because after this, Endless Summer came out and made them an oldies act forever. At this point, they were still progressing, trying to move forward, all new material, on these albums. But after this, 15 Big Ones is the next one in 76, and that's got covers on it, oldies covers. It's kind of like they knew where their bread was buttered after that, but this is a solid record. Okay. 68, I'm going to say, is Thin Lizzy. Vagabonds of the Western World. Here's the surround sound mix. They would, again, this is their first one I really like. They would make better ones after this, but this is solid enough to certainly, be on my list of the top albums of 1973. All right, Vagabonds of the Western World. That was 68. 69 is going to be Gong. This is the Love from the Planet Gong box set. I'm going to show you Angel's Egg, which they don't have a picture of it on the CD. So this is it's a very good album. It's prog, it's progressive. These guys are French mostly. They're one of the original Canterbury bands. And I would have a lot of Gong albums. Well, I will have other Gong albums, when I continue to go through the 70s. This is, I think, the second one I've shown you. All right, and that was 49, I think. And 50, just squeaking in, Beck, Bogart, and a Piece or a Piche. This is like a hard rock or a metal type album. It's a power trio like Cream, just not as good. The sound of the band was great. I love Carmen's drums, Jeff's playing, whatever. But they couldn't write songs that well. You know, they were good live. This is their only album. All right. So that's 50. If I was gonna, I mean, that's 70. If I was gonna have 71, I would have squeezed in Derek and the Dominoes in concert. But anyways, all right, so that's, wow, 50 minutes. That's Matt. I'm done for the day, and I'll see you next time with 74. But I think I'm gonna do a Captain Beefheart video first.